I'm going to attempt to put complex things into simple terms. As you can see, I have not yet started the storyline. I have recorded all of the clips over the last several days. And technically this would be considered a prologue, of which you'll be getting to later on. But I'm preparing you for later now. You remember the last reflection. We're going to look back at my behavior pre-pandemic. This is all current events, but I can fit it into where we're going. So I need to tell you a story first. I was raised in a period of scarcity around food. I used to watch The Galloping Gourmet and figure out all kinds of ways of using the little ingredients that we had in the early 60s to make meals for my stepbrother and stepsister, and I was the oldest, so where I make the proposal that change is possible. Old dogs can learn new tricks, and so can you. You can use brain plasticity, awareness, understanding, and discipline to transform your thinking. I believe that I am demonstrating a migration from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset of my own. In more modern terms, that comes from a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset. In other words, believing that you can change and therefore making the effort to change and watching yourself do the change, which reinforces the process. Self-fulfilling prophecy. Gaming your own self. Just yesterday I heard Stuart Varney say, history is an excellent teacher if you're paying attention. And in this episode, I'd like you to grab the idea that I don't know where I'm going. I'm simply putting out my intention and recording the events. And I went into this episode thinking of it more like a review. Looking back, how did I do? Where am I at now? That kind of a thing. And I've come out of it with a whole nother level of understanding about relationships, the scarcity of relationships, and how special those are when you can create a new relationship with someone. And so in this prologue, I'm with you to see how transformation plays itself out and whether it's really as good as I say it is, to encourage you to record yours for your own reinforcement and for the corpus in training AI as we go forward. All right, ready? Let's see what happens. Welcome back to the next episode of SCOTOMAVILLE Reflection, number 4 of Volume 1. We are now in the Badlands National Park. We're talking about my reflecting back on the episode on abundant scarcity and wanting to give you a strong sense of encouragement and curiosity to do your own personal Everest and to record your journey in order to be an observer to your own progress. And so in this episode, I wanted to see if there would appear opportunities for learning in this reflection in addition to those in Volume 1 and those of Volume 2. Yesterday I recorded a few bits about scarcity with the same mindset, and that being that we had absolutely no coverage, no data, no voice, no texting, no cellular coverage at all. And yet we were in this intensely abundant location. There was hardly any room at all. Lots of noise, lots of people, the perfect setup for this episode. Welcome back to another episode of SCOTOMAVILLE, and this is the reflection video for the 4th chapter in Volume 1 on scarcity. I just wanted you to know that we're in a campground, and this is about the 5th or 6th car going by. I just think it's really curious that if you're going to do a reflection on the scarcity episode, that you would have an abundance of interruptions. And at least now I can assure you that you're going to have an abundance of it. It doesn't seem possible to get to someplace quiet. One of the ways that scarcity shows up in my thinking is its fault finding. It's things that are broken, things that need work, things that are, as you saw earlier in pattern recognition, that demonstrate a failure or a potential failure of some kind, because that's where I found value. See, I could fix things. And so things that become broken around me all the time. So airstreaming's perfect for that. It turns out that when you pull away from a dump station and you make tight turns, you go from having abundance in tread to lots of scarcity. Part of the abstract of SCOTOMAVILLE is the idea that you can dance with the invisible world, and that when you put yourself forward and fully commit to changing your behavior through observation, that these opportunities for learning present themselves. And they'll often look like things that want to stop you from either recording or proceeding with your episode, or even with your entire series. One of the first abundances that shows up, broken parts. So you have to push a little pin in here now to open the refrigerator door. This is the latch. Okay, I glued it, and now I have to reinforce it because the end is pretty stupid cheap. This one at least is reinforced. This one's not. Okay, so I made a little wedge to stick in here to reinforce that, and then I'll glue it with epoxy. There it is, all in place. And it's the assembly that required that to be a flexible bottom. When we first started airstreaming, we would run out of the pancakes or the grapefruit or water, and we would be between towns or areas that they even had distribution of that. Same thing with our A2 milk. And so we've learned, rather than setting us up for those triggering events that bring up all those emotions of the past, we now have the discipline to purchase a bit in advance so that as we're traveling cross country, we don't have to go in search near as much. But sir, give me that second gallon of water back. Wait, we drink a gallon a day. This is my third trip. But you're only allowed one. And all of the emotions of scarcity in childhood come flooding back. It's amazing how easy it is to trigger that stuff. This is a point in a reflection worth noting. As I said, old dogs can learn new tricks, but that applies to young people too. You can learn new skills through awareness, where you gain understanding of your beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors, and therefore you can use discipline to modify your trajectory, to set your sail differently. History is a great teacher if you're paying attention. At this point, we pulled into our campsite. We set up, and soon after I heard Ford honking, and I looked at my truck, and there was a Ford F-150 right behind us with another Airstream. And we motioned to each other and started talking. 2 hours later, I came up for a breath of air. Two things came together. Not just Steve and I in our conversation, but our nearly lifelong scarcity of relationships with other men, combined with an enthusiasm, a passion for both technology and information and the kingdom, and grand outcomes. What did our time together mean?
You know, it taught me something very important, which is I thought I could wear the other guy out a lot more than I really can. And then I met my match.
Yeah.
And had a wonderful long time with my new friend Daniel.
A good lesson that I walk away with is that as a creator, preparing things in advance of an audience, when you find someone who's willing to listen, it's super easy to flood them, firehose them with everything you know and all the possible facets, just like the landscape all around us. I'm learning to say more with fewer words. So to summarize, our dendrites limit the amount of new information that we can embody. The enthusiasm for the content can overwhelm others. Wisdom comes in being able to meter that, to throttle that, whether it's the corpus and agents sending out the information, or you being aware that your recipients are becoming glazed over and overloaded. The landscape of Badlands is this half surrounding circle of fabulous facets. That's like my conversation with Steve yesterday. He let me do a complete panorama of SCOTOMAVILLE, and I learned it's impossible to stuff that much information into the human brain. We can't grow dendrites that fast. Even my reflection of that conversation has bookends, and it is summarized in here as, well, that was an enthusiastic, passionate exchange of ideas that probably wore both of us out. Our brain tries to bookend beginning of that experience, what it start like and what did it end like, right? So vacation, for example, here's all the chaos getting to the airport. You have a fabulous time on vacation, and then here's the chaos getting back home. And what does your brain do? Holy crap, that was a chaotic vacation. Let's not do that again. Whereas the whole middle of it can have been wonderful. So if you're in a small community, each time you go to check out your groceries and all the different
assistants are looking at each other like, oh, don't let him come to my counter, or, I hope he goes to yours, or...
So let me practice that. That is a lot of clips I am purposefully not going to use. And I hope that helps you get your butt out of SCOTOMAVILLE.